Are you a loser? And what is a loser actually? Loser is a subjective thing that society actually imposes on you when you do not meet some social, economic criteria. Society actually puts a threshold for average people that they need to meet in order to be considered and labeled successful. Like being financially stable, not living with your parents, having your own car. This threshold can be found different in different cultures and different societies. Like, for example, a loser in a specific society or a culture might be regarded as a successful person in another society. This only adds up to being a loser or a successful person is a subjective social construct. But the question is really, should I really care about what this bunch of Homo sapiens are thinking about me? A bunch of apes who gathered together out of survival needs are right now gonna determine who I am, are right now gonna label me and give me titles. An ape who lost his tail yesterday is now telling me that I should be this and should be that. A social animal as we are, we find ourselves giving a lot of credit to what other people think about us because we are social, and being social is a great indicator of survival. Therefore, if somebody doesn't feel good about us or thinks something negative about us, we give it a lot of importance. Let alone if the whole society thinks about you as being the vagabond, the outcast, the loser, and the undesirable, that no one wants to be friends with, or nobody wants to date, and nobody wants to have basic relationship with, because basically you have nothing to offer, because all types of relationships are transactional relationships, trans-beneficial relationships. People won't be with you and stay with you unless you give them something to stay or be in the first place. Just by taking a look in social media, you find all those type of influencers are actually feeding you this type of you need to be wealthy, you need to be famous, you need to be rich, you need to be beautiful, you need to be handsome, you need to have a symmetrical face, you need to have a tiny waist, you need to be tall, you need to have a car, you need to live alone, you need to have a family, you need to be jacked, thick lips, broad jaw, broad shoulders, full bank account, charisma, a big butt, fancy clothes, and all type of stuff. You find yourself rather in pursuit of those things, rather struggling to be tall, have a symmetrical face, and to fill your bank account with money, to have a good job, and to be powerful, to have a better personality, to have thicker lips, and all sorts of stuffs. Because the more you check this list that is given by society, the more desirable you are and the more accepted. And we are social animals as we are, desire acceptance and desire to be a part of the tribe. A woman is obsessed about her looks because she wants to attract a good man, and the man is obsessed about his possessions because he wants to attract a good woman. And the cycle goes on, a cycle of absurdity and stupidness, a cycle that is run by biology and sex and bringing innocent children to existence, a cycle that never actually stops because society is never actually content or satisfied. It keeps demanding more from you. And you keep obeying like the slave you are, ending up in consumerism and ending up a slave to capitalism, forming your whole new identity about pleasing the others. That would give you actually pleasure, yes, of being accepted, of course, but it doesn't have to be this way. You do not have to work so hard for this type of fleeting pleasure. This is what really gave rise to the cynics, like Anasthenes at first, then Diogenes, the cynic, that actually realized the philosophy of cynicism at best. Then after him, the Stoics, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Zeno as the father of Stoicism, and such. Do I have really to keep on chasing your criteria, society's criteria? What if I am ugly and I'm not desirable? What if I am ugly and not handsome? I believe you would be very handsome, like model-like handsome in another possible world in which evolution is different than our current evolution. What if you were fat? What if you do not know how to draw? What if you were bad at mathematics? What if you're bad at making videos in YouTube? What if you have a weak body for sports? Doesn't mean you are worthless. Remember that being worthless and a loser is something that only other fellow human beings think. If you are a human and they are human beings, is this really objective? Is it really objective that you are a loser? But if you think yourself being a loser, you think it yourself, I can't do anything about it because you think it yourself. And there are actually a lot of people who think themselves being a loser while the society deems them as being very successful. All I'm saying, don't be a slave to society's demands. There are a lot of ways that you could find yourself and build your entire identity away from pleasing society and your community. There are a lot of ways that you could prosper without everybody knowing it. Just taking the pleasure to yourself and be what you are. Your aim should be satisfying yourself rather than society. But anyway, alright, I accept it. I am a loser. But the question is this really my fault? Free will doesn't exist. And we know that hereditary traits are a major indicator of success. A person who inherited a strong physique or strong body has a more chance of being a heavyweight champion or something like that. A person who inherited a high level IQ has a more chance of being a chess champion or to be a scientist or a college teacher or something like that. The universe is taking a grand chain of cause and effect, a great chain of causality. Nothing we do is in our hands. We are mainly just consciousness, conscious of events, conscious of this big chain of causality unraveling itself before our very conscious eyes. We can do nothing to prevent it. We can't do nothing to stop it. You would say, but right now you actually know that the chain of causality exists and is true. Right now that you know about the argument of determinism and free will, you could actually break the cycle and break this determined chain of causality. But no, again, if even I know that determinism is true, it was already determined. It was already determined that I would know that it is true. And everything that I do after discovering this fact, it's only because I did, and it's only because of the chain of cause and effects. Until now, I cannot see that I have broken this chain, because me, being a physical part of the universe, I cannot be independent from this chain of causality. My brain, which is I am, the nervous system, is governed by biochemistry, basically physical processes. Like everything else, I cannot see how my brain would be exempt from this chain of causality. If I show you, for example, a rock falling down a mountain because of gravity, you would say it has no other choice but to follow that because a rock is made of particles and gravity. You would adhere to a naturalistic scientific explanation. But when I speak about the brain, you don't do that. You presume to metaphysical assumptions. You presume that we are something rather than just matter. You presume a dualist point of view about our identity, which is wrong. If that rock is actually bound by physical laws, our brain, which is us, is also bound by physical laws. Therefore, we cannot be free. If somebody got crowned by a crown or got rewarded by a medal or a cup or a belt or a Nobel Award or a Oscar Award, it's only because of the chain of causality. Because the individual doesn't exist as himself, as a free, independent entity. A free, independent entity from the natural world. It exists within the natural world. Think of it like a game character. Does the game character have the ability to do anything outside of the game? It cannot do that. It can only operate within the game. Everything that this character chooses in this virtual world is determined by the structure and the making of the game. You cannot get outside the possibilities of this game. You are confined within the limits of this virtual world. So whether you are a good person or whether you are a bad person, whether you are in jail for a very serious, hideous crime, or whether you invest your time and money for charity, it's all because of this chain of causality. It doesn't mean that you are doing it yourself. It doesn't mean that we should rather reward one and shame one. Because that's the world, and this is just, it's determined. It's determined, right? If I told you that, for example, I will create a world, right, in which I will have a society, but in this society, there's a chance that somebody might be a thief, there's a chance that somebody might be a serial killer, there's a chance that somebody might be a virtuous person, there's a chance that somebody might be a very good person, or whatever. I'm telling you that this chance exists ontologically. I still don't know the person in which the chance of either being a thief or something like that would manifest itself. If the chance exists ontologically, it's only a matter of time and a matter of repetition of the daily routine until the chance manifests itself. Then we would have our thief, and we would have our killer, and we would have our virtuous person, because the chance is simply there. So if you are bad at school and very bad at work or something like that, or you're having it bad in your social relationships, or anyway, you consider yourself being a loser, and you submit to this idea of loser of society about yourself. It's not you. It's only a causal chain of events that manifests itself in you. That's it. You had nothing to do with you being in this current state, as much as somebody who is very successful has nothing to do with it. Determinism keeps on going and slaying people. Some people inherit a proclivity towards developing some serious psychological destructive traits. And what could you tell about those people? Could you tell that they are losers because they wanted to? Some people are born with very symmetrical, beautiful skin, beautiful hair and all. Would you say that this person, being very successful in modeling, has anything to do with what he chose? People are hypocrites. They won't give merit to people who inherited a lot of money, right? Because they would always say that his wealth is inherited. But they would always give merit to people who inherited a good IQ. As if he chose to be good in math, as if he chose to have linguistic intelligence, as if he chose to have a social intelligence and such. We choose nothing. Life just keeps happening to us. As much as it's bad to believe so, because we need to approach this matter pragmatically. But it's still true. So I am a loser, right? And whom to blame for me being a loser? Should I blame my parents? But wait, my parents also would blame their parents. And my grandparents would blame it on their parents. And we have this long regress towards the biogenesis, the very first cell, that would blame it on the suitable conditions for life. And the suitable conditions for life would blame it again on the universe. And the universe would blame it on existence itself. Except that the universe is existence. But hey, existence could be the cosmos, something even outside our local space-time, our local universe. But anyway, I don't want to talk about something else. I'm just showing you that these bunch of apes don't have the right to give you labels and don't have the right to make you sad about who you are. Live with your own preferences. I mean, causality's preferences. If they were not already influenced by society. But they are influenced by society. This is how we are raised. Of course, everything is influenced by society. Therefore, even our indignation and our rebellion is influenced by society. As I told you, the Cynics and the Stoics, who actually overdone it with their religious counterparts until we have a reaction towards the very Stoic principles, which is the existential affirmation by Friedrich Nietzsche and various existentialist philosophers. But anyway, just keep on playing around, and you're not here to satisfy anyone. Just try to satisfy yourself. Travel to places and tell nobody. Post nothing in social media. Live wonderful experiences and tell it to nobody. You would see that people, when they don't know, it actually doesn't make any difference. Because you have already lived and enjoyed the pleasure of that moment. Except if you are a Machiavellian who want to use that to rise in some type of social power. Then you could do that, just be careful not to end up being a slave. But anyway, that's it. Keep existing powerfully. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.